This is the HTML5PCODE file video. This is a PCODE file, but in particular it's a file that can be used by the browser for a web page. It starts out HTML and down here ends with /HTML. First, there's information that the browser expects to see for an HTML file. Then it comes to a line here that says go into programming mode. That's what script means. Start of script, end of script means start of the program data, end of the program data. It says the variable name saved is equal to 20. When this file was saved, if it was saved to the letter A, this would be a 0. B, it would be a 1. If it were saved to T, it'd be 19. But it was saved to U because it was supposed to make this HTML file. So when the program sees this 20, it knows that this is an HTML file. Next, it ends the heading. This is the heading up here. And then it starts the body of the HTML. And it says when it starts, it's to initialize. And that its background color is a yellow color. Then it defines all the canvases. Canvas 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 0. Canvas 1 through 5 you use in your PCODE program most of the time. You can in fact use Canvas 0. Canvas 0 is always used on the program screen when you're making the program. Remember, Canvas 1 is the background, and the order in which these are given is the order in which they're put on the screen. So 1 is put on first, then 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 0. Notice 0 is put on top of all the others because it's the last to be put on the screen. Next we go into program mode again, and we show it where to go get the PCODE program called A001.js. That's the file that contains the program that will run the PCODE. Next, there's a list of tags that are used by your PCODE program to insert lines into the HTML. Here there's tag DL, PL, VL, and XL. For instance, the one here called VL is if you want to put a video into the HTML, you put it to this tag. Well, that's where it goes to anyway. Next, we go back into programming mode again, and we say there's a function called build. Now the browser will know what that means. It starts out saying submax equals 0, and then it says S1 equals quote. That is to say that there's going to be a string, and it's going to start with a quote and end with a quote. Well, before we look at this long string that it's going to be given, we want to come down here and learn about markers. If in this string there is a $~A, we're going to call that an A marker. It indicates the first note line. All subsequent note lines will end with marker B. If it ends with marker C, it's the first app page. If it's marker D, it's a subsequent app page. If it ends with marker E, it's the list of all the given names that were entered. If it ends with marker F, it's the first app list given. If it ends with marker G, it's a subsequent app list. Notice right now that app pages were saved and app lists were saved. Work pages and work lists are not saved with the program. Next we have marker H. It indicates the first P-code program. Marker I indicates all subsequent P-code programs. Marker J indicates the beginning of comments, and it'll be first the main program's comments, then all subsequent programs' comments. Also, we have special cases where if a $sign would appear in this line of text, it has to be removed because it would indicate a special thing was to be done. So if there is a $sign, it is replaced with $0. Also, if there was a quote sign inside this text, the browser would think that that meant the end of the string. Well, we don't want it to end the string, so we replace all quotes with $1. Also, the browser might think that an apostrophe means the end of a quote string. So we say, no, we'll replace that with $2. Also, the browser gets excited when it sees a reverse slant. So we remove any reverse slants that might be in our text with $3. Also, to make this file smaller, if there's a sequence of over 4,224 spaces, we say $0 to indicate there's 4,224 spaces. Also, we have $1 indicating that the next character tells how many spaces are supposed to be inserted. If it's a $2, the next two characters indicate how many spaces are to be inserted. Also, when it's entering values, if there's a number followed by an @sign, that number is used to insert that number of zeros into the value list. Alright, next we have information about a P-code instruction. A P-code instruction has 12 values in it. Here we're giving them their offset of 0, 1 through 11. The first value will always be the action's number. The second value will be the number of the label if that line has a label. It'll be 0 if it doesn't. Does the line have a to label? Its number will be given next. If it doesn't, that value will be 0. Then there's going to be address 1, address 2, and address 3. An address can have a name. Well, every name has a number that goes with it. That will be the first thing in an address. Next would be an offset, if there's an offset in the address. And then if there's a plus register. Here I'll indicate that as the plus register value is 0, that indicates that this is 0. This offset could be 0. Then it would be just the offset of the name itself. Well, there can also be a second address, and there might be a third address. So there are 12 values in every P-code instruction. Now we can go back up here and start out with our string. Our first string of characters here ends with an A marker. That means it's the first note. The next string of characters ends with a B marker, meaning that's a subsequent note. Then the next ends with another B character, and the next with another B character, and then that's the end of the note lines. The rest of the notes are blank, so there's just a bunch of B markers. Then there's a string of characters that ends with a C marker. That indicates that this is an app page. Then there's just markers for D indicating subsequent web pages. Well, there's nothing there, so the subsequent web pages are all blank. Next, it has a line that contains all the names. First, the names of app lists, then the names of app pages, and then the names given to variables, all in one string. The app list names and app page names all are 12 characters. The variable names are 16 characters in length. So it knows there's 60 for lists, 60 for pages, 60 for variables. So it knows exactly how long this line is going to be. So when it ends with the E marker, it knows that those are the names and it knows where to put each name. Next, there's a list of values that ends with the F marker, indicating these are values for an app list. Notice there are so many values, and then it says 488 zeros. Well, there's 500 values in every app list. So this one had so many values, then the rest were zero. This F means it's the first app list. Subsequent app lists will end with the G marker. Here is a subsequent app list. This would be the second app list. We see at the beginning of it a value of 1,230,008. We know that that's the header for a pattern, and that the pattern has 8 values. Well, we can count out the 8 values, and then we see after the 8 values it says insert 11 zero values. Then it has a header value for another pattern, and after it will be the information for the pattern. Well, that all ends with a G marker, indicating the end of that app list. Then we see a bunch of 500 values ending again with a G marker. That is for the rest of the app list. Then we have a list of values ending with an H marker. That is, those values are the first P-code program. Remember, it has 12 values for every instruction. This is the first P-code program, that is the main program. It starts out with 324. Now, that is a number that relates to the action. However, because this number is given as an offset value, where each action is offset by 4, this is really the 81st action. Well, be that as it may, we go on, that's the action, then it says 2 zeros, which indicates there isn't a label on this instruction line, and there's not a to label for this instruction line. Next is the name. It says name 218. Then it says 2 zeros, indicating there's no offset value for it, and there's no plus register for it. Then it goes to 218 name again. And then it says 5 zeros, meaning not only does it not have an offset or a plus register, but the last address is all zeros. It doesn't have a name, an offset, or a plus register. That is the end of the first instruction. And as it goes, 12 values at a time, that's another instruction. Well, this one ended in an H, meaning it's the first P-code program. We call that the main program. Well, then it has another list of values that end in an I. That's a subsequent program. Well, we know that this then would be subprogram 1. And there's no more marker I's, so there's only a main program and one subprogram. After that, we have the comments. But the first comment is always the name of the program. So here, the main program is called Match 2. And it knows it's the name of the program because first ends with an accent mark and then 2 spaces. That says that that is actually the name of the program. Then it comes with another name, ends with an accent mark, and then says what is the label that goes with the comment. Label AP. Well, that ends with a J marker indicating that was the first set of comments, so they're the comments for the main program. Then it goes and has one that ends with a K marker indicating it's a subsequent comments. Well, it's the comments for subprogram 1, which we see here is named subprogram 1. Subprogram 1 also has a comment here that ends with an accent mark and says that the comment, first one here, ends with AA as its label. The second one ends with AC at its label, and so forth. So those are the comments for subprogram 1. It ends with the K marker. Well, right after that, it ends with a Z marker, indicating there is no more data for this line that we're calling S1. End of program information, end of the body of HTML, end of the HTML. There's one thing that I missed when we were going through here, and this little piece of information here. At some point, if this string of characters gets more than 4,000 characters long, it inserts in it an end of the string and the beginning of a new string. The reason for that is when we had lines longer, much longer than 4,000 actually, sometimes the browser or maybe Notepad got upset about it being so long. So we insert in it end of string, beginning of another string. Well, this is the end of the HTML P-code file video.